All right, welcome everyone to today's Explainer. We're diving into the true, unfiltered history of quality management. We hear terms like Lean and Six Sigma thrown around boardrooms constantly these days, but to actually leverage them, we really need to understand where they came from. And for those of you out there building and scaling the industrial sector in Bangladesh right now, mastering these authentic historical roots, well, it isn't just some academic exercise. It is absolutely essential for building a stronger, more globally competitive manufacturing future.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Where did Lean and Six Sigma really begin? If you open up most Western textbooks, you'd probably think they were invented in American universities or corporate headquarters back in the 1980s and 90s. But as we're going to see today, we need to challenge those common Western-centric myths surrounding the actual origins of modern manufacturing efficiency.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 5 key areas. 1. The Japanese quality miracle. 2. Architects of Japan's revival. 3. America's quality wake-up call. 4. The birth of Six Sigma. And 5. How MIT discovered Lean.
Let's start with Section 1, the Japanese Quality Miracle, TQM for a better future.
Okay, let's get right into it. To really understand Lean and Six Sigma, we have to rewind the clock back to the post-World War II era. From 1950 onwards, Japan experienced this absolutely incredible surge in real per capita GDP. Just a massive economic spike. And listen, this was no accident. This was driven by a nationwide, totally unwavering commitment to product quality, which ultimately earned them absolute global trust.
So what actually fueled this miracle? It came down to rock-solid foundational frameworks. They built a culture around 5S for workplace discipline. They fully embraced Kaizen, that's continuous improvement. They empowered their workers on the floor through team-based quality control circles. And then they unified the whole thing under Total Quality Management, or TQM, fostering it all through JUICE, the Union of Japanese Scientists and Engineers. They essentially created this perfect ecosystem where productivity and innovation could just completely.
Moving on to Part 2, Architects of Japan's Revival, TQM for a Better Future.
Now, you know as well as I do that systems don't just build themselves, right? People do. And this wasn't a solo act, it was an incredible collaborative relay race. The whole transformation kicked off in 1945 when Ichiro Ishikawa laid the national groundwork by co-founding JUICE. That platform was absolutely crucial. Without it, the transformation just wouldn't have scaled. Then, in 1950, American statistician W. Edwards Deming stepped in, bringing statistical quality control to the table. And a few years later, in 1954, J.M. Juran shifted the paradigm entirely, making quality a top management responsibility, not just an issue for the guys on the shop floor. But here's the kicker. The theories brought over by Deming and Juran needed serious execution. And that's where a group of Japanese geniuses took the reins. You had Karo Ishikawa creating QC circles in the fishbone diagram, which made quality literally everyone's job. Taiichi Ohno practically built the Toyota production system from the ground up to ruthlessly eliminate waste. Shigeo Shingo took those systems and turned them into daily operational gains with rapid improvement techniques. And Shigeru Mizuno figured out how to link high-level strategy directly to daily operations. These men forged the absolute bedrock of what we now casually call Lean.
Which brings us to Section 3, America's Quality Wake-Up Call, TQM for a Better Future.
This is where the story gets really deeply ironic. Fast forward to the 1980s, and you've got this steady, incredibly methodical Japan just completely outpacing a panicked USA in quality. Think about that for a second. America, the very country that sent experts like Deming and Juran to teach Japan quality control in the first place, was now hemorrhaging enormous market share to them.
Things got so severe that a famous 1980 NBC broadcast hit the airwaves with a pretty blunt question. They asked, "If Japan can, why can't we?" That question was a massive public wake-up call. It forced U.S. industries to completely shift their mindset. They realized they had to stop blaming their workforce, they had to shift from just inspecting products at the end of the line to actual error prevention, and basically they had to relearn total quality control from the Japanese.
All right, Part 4. The birth of Six Sigma, TQM for a better future.
This wake-up call slammed the American electronics industry especially hard. Just to put this into perspective, think about the numbers. By 1980, Motorola was bleeding with 20,000 to 30,000 defects per million opportunities. Meanwhile, their Japanese competitors, like Sony and Panasonic, were sitting pretty at just 5,000 to 7,000. Motorola's market share was nosediving from 25% down to 15%.
This absolute crisis forced Motorola CEO Bob Galvin to draw a hard line in the sand. He demanded a 10x improvement in quality.
And boom, out of that sheer desperation, Six Sigma is born in 1986. But listen, we really need to clear up a massive misunderstanding here. Motorola did not instantly hit 3.4 defects per million opportunities. No way. It was introduced as a visionary goal, an aspirational dream that perfectly aligned with Duran's quality trilogy. It was a bold target for breakthrough improvement, not a capability they had already achieved.
Finally, Section 5, how MIT discovered Lean, TQM for a better future.
Let's wrap up with our final chapter to see exactly how Japanese efficiency became a household global buzzword. Enter MIT's Sloan School of Management. Researchers there were meticulously studying the Toyota production system as part of their International Motor Vehicle Program. In 1988, a researcher named John Krafchick published an article called Triumph of the Lean Production System, and just like that, the term lean production was officially coined.
Right after Krafchick, Western researchers like James Womack and his colleagues took all these Japanese practices and synthesized them into blockbuster best-selling books like The Machine That Changed the World and Lean Thinking. What this proves, without a doubt, is that MIT identified, defined, and named lean, but they absolutely didn't invent it. The entire concept was 100% rooted in Toyota's production philosophy.
And this leads us to kind of a fascinating, maybe a bit of an uncomfortable truth in management history. Japanese TQM practices were deeply studied by U.S. researchers and then essentially repackaged under shiny new Western labels to create unique frameworks and sell books. A lot of the popular tools we swear by today, like value stream mapping or the 5 principles of lean, are actually Western interpretations. They aren't official frameworks owned or issued by Toyota itself.
To really hit this nail on the head, let's contrast two guys, Norman Bodek and James Womack. Womack named and framed lean through his Western synthesis, and he gained massive global recognition for it. But Norman Bodek, he is arguably the most underrated contributor in this whole story. Bodek brought the authentic voices of Ono and Shingo to the West by faithfully translating their original Japanese wisdom. He didn't try to rebrand it, he didn't claim ownership, he just shared the profound original knowledge. So this entire incredible global relay race of ideas eventually formalized into a massive worldwide legacy. Think about it. Japan's rigorous Deming Prize, established way back in 1951 by JUICE, served as the direct inspiration for the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award in the USA in 1987, and then the European Quality Award in 1991. The Japanese roots quite literally shaped the entire international standard of quality we follow today.
Okay, so what is the big takeaway from today's explainer, especially for those of you leading the charge in Bangladesh's manufacturing and engineering sectors right now? It's this: you have to look past the Western buzzwords. The shiny labels are great, sure, but if you want to succeed, you must embrace the true, authentic Japanese foundations of total quality management, because that, my friends, is how you build a truly resilient, globally trusted operation.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought to chew on before your next team meeting. Now that you know the real history, how are you going to apply the genuine roots of TQM to drive authentic, continuous improvement in your own organization today? Thank you so much for hanging out with me to uncover these insights. Keep learning, keep improving, and I'll see you in our next explainer.